No half-speed energy today because the Chargers are dealing with the spots that can decide an entire season. The left guard battle has one name sitting higher than a lot of people expected, and that already changes a few assumptions. Then there's a trade window in Pittsburgh that another team will jump on if Los Angeles gets timid. We're also getting into Oronde Gadsden II because the league feels late to something the fan base already saw. And then Herbert working with McDaniel on an adjustment that could reduce the hits and add more bite. Drop a like and subscribe because today we're demanding ambition. And look at how this starts. Not with a flashy name, not with a huge contract, not with the kind of signing that makes the fan base lose its mind in the first minute. It starts with Kayode Awosika, a guard who came in near the end of free agency, with the cap hit of a depth piece, just over $1.8 million, and now he's showing up as the primary first-team left guard during OTAs. That is exactly the kind of news a lot of people scroll right past. I don't. Because when we're talking about protecting Justin Herbert, there is no small detail. There is getting it right, there is getting it wrong, and there is your quarterback taking shots because the interior of the line still has no real answer. Part of the fan base expected something different. With cap space, with a clear need, a lot of people pictured a bigger signing, a more established name, somebody walking in, slamming the table, and taking the left guard job with no debate. Instead, the Chargers took a more open path. They brought in Awosika, added Cole Strange for right guard, kept Trevor Penning, attacked all 5 offensive line spots through the draft and undrafted free agency, and let the competition breathe. That can frustrate people who wanted a ready-made solution. But it may also reveal something important. Harbaugh and this staff do not seem interested in handing out jobs just because of price tags. That's where this gets interesting, because Awosika is not just filling space in May and June. He's been working as the first option on the left side, while Jake Slaughter has also rotated with the starters and shown up as the backup center on the second unit. Making Slaughter earn the job makes sense. He is a second-round pick. There is investment there, there is future there, but an offensive line spot cannot be a welcome gift. What stands out is Awosika, at least for now, sitting ahead of Penning in that early order. Penning costs more. He was already in the building last season, and even then, he has not automatically jumped to the front. Let's cool the temperature for 1 second without killing the fire. OTAs without pads do not settle trench battles. Nobody serious is locking in a starting guard before training camp puts power, leverage, contact, and stamina on the table. But pretending this means nothing would be ridiculous too. If Awosika came in cheap, after 4 seasons as a backup in Detroit, with 4 starts last year because of injuries, 287 snaps, 10 pressures, and 3 sacks allowed, and he still opens the process in pole position, then he is showing something. And what he said sounds like the kind of player the Chargers need in this fight. When he was asked whether he was guaranteed a chance to start, Awosika basically said he doesn't even think that way, because he attacks everything the same. New building, new competition, players going down, opportunities showing up, and his mindset is to fight to do anything, including start. That is the language of a player who understands the ground he is standing on. The left side of the line does not need pretty speeches. It needs someone who can hold up on Sunday, not flinch, win reps, and make Herbert trust the timing of the play. So yes, it's early, very early, but it is a positive surprise worth watching. If Kayode Awosika can actually hold that edge once the pads come on, the Chargers may have found an unlikely starter without spending like a desperate team. And if he doesn't hold it, fine. Let Slaughter, Penning, or somebody else win it by force. What cannot happen is this position becoming an excuse in January. Herbert's window does not accept endless patchwork. The competition is open, but the standard has to be ruthless. Shift from the offensive trenches to the other side of the fight, getting after the quarterback. Because one thing separates a nice team from a dangerous team in the AFC, and it is the ability to affect the passer on third down without constantly selling out with the blitz. That is where the name Alex Highsmith enters as the kind of possibility Los Angeles has to monitor with the phone already in hand. Pittsburgh has TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, and Highsmith in the same edge rusher room. That is luxury. That is strength, but it can also become a roster squeeze, a money squeeze, a snap distribution squeeze, and a long-term planning squeeze. When one team stacks that much talent at one position, smart teams hover, not to beg, to attack the opening when it appears. And the Chargers, honestly, cannot keep acting like opportunity is something you watch from a distance. Highsmith is not rotation decoration. He is a proven edge rusher. Physical, used to playing in a tough defensive system, with real production and the ability to change the tone of a front. Put that next to Khalil Mack and a rising Tuli Tuipulotu 2, and the conversation changes fast. Suddenly, Los Angeles would not just be trying to survive against the monsters in the conference. It would be building a rotation that makes offensive tackles suffer for 4 quarters. This is the part that gets me heated when people talk about the Chargers like patience is some endless virtue. Justin Herbert cannot be treated like a forever promise. The window is now, it is moving, and it is demanding decisions. If the offense is being redesigned to get the ball out faster, the defense has to do its part by closing games, shortening drives, wrecking pockets, and making quarterbacks uncomfortable when the playoffs punish soft pass rushes. Could a move for Highsmith be expensive? Maybe. Would Pittsburgh have a reason to listen? That depends on how they view cap space, the future, and depth. But that is exactly the type of situation where an aggressive front office starts before everyone else. You don't wait for a sale sign. You call, check the price, test the temperature, and find out if there is a path. Because when the window truly opens, the team that arrives first usually controls the conversation. And I know some fans will say, calm down, Mac is still there. Thule is coming up, why move? The answer is simple. Playoff offenses do not show mercy. Injuries happen. Fresh pressure in the fourth quarter wins games. Having three edges who can threaten changes protection, changes play calling, changes the fear level before the snap. That is not empty luxury. That is ammunition. If the Steelers keep Highsmith, you move on. But if there is any sign he could become available, the Chargers need to be at the front of the line. No waiting around for the AFC to politely clear space. Los Angeles has to push the door open. A Mack, Thule, and Highsmith trio would not just look good on paper. It would send a warning. It would bring real weight. It would be the kind of defense that makes a quarterback look twice before the snap. And now I need to say something that feels like a compliment, but also smells like the national media arriving late. Oronde Gadsden II showing up as a possible under-the-radar breakout for 2026. Under the radar for who? Maybe for people who weren't watching the Chargers every week. For the fans who were here when he started the season inactive and still finished his rookie year with 49 catches, 664 yards, and 3 touchdowns. This is not a secret. This is an old warning. The point Tyler Sullivan from CBS Sports made has logic to it. Gadsden exploded with that massive 164-yard game in Week 7, flashed for real, then had a quieter finish with only 12 catches over his final 6 games. Add David Njoku to the room, and there it is. People start flirting with the idea that Gadsden might be a one-flash player. My response? Careful. Very careful. Because reducing this kid to one isolated moment is exactly the kind of lazy read that later turns into, how did nobody see this coming? Gadsden has something that changes the offensive math. He runs like a vertical threat while playing tight end. That is not common. When a player with that kind of size can attack the middle, separate, become a trusted target, and still show up in the red zone, an offensive coordinator does not look at him like a random piece. Mike McDaniel has already shown in other stops that he knows how to use tight ends to create space, rhythm, and conflict for a defense. If he sees Gadsden as a special project, the question is not whether there is a role. The question is how much damage that role can do. And yes, Njoku did not come in to be decoration. He will get targets. He will get packages. He will bring physical presence. Nobody is erasing that. But Njoku's deal is for 1 year, while Gadsden feels much more tied to the future of the room. That is the detail that matters. The veteran can help now, take pressure off, teach through the reps. But the piece that can grow with Herbert, split the seam, hurt linebackers, and become a safety's nightmare is Gadsden. Chargers fans know this lineage. Antonio Gates left an absurd standard. Hunter Henry kept the position relevant. Now Gadsden has a chance to pull the next link forward, but with a different profile, more stretched out, more vertical, more built for a modern attack. And if you think he makes that jump in 2026, comment one simple thing. Gadsden as the future starter or too much hype? I want to see where the fan base stands on this. For me, the answer is clear. Calling Oronde Gadsden II a hidden name does not really fit what he already put on the field. What's missing is not discovery. It is volume, consistency, and an offensive plan that stops making good talent wait for permission to explode. With Herbert throwing, McDaniel designing, and Gadsden attacking space, that second year could leave a lot of people looking shocked. But Bolt Nation will not be able to say it was caught off guard. This is the point that ties the whole episode together for me. Justin Herbert and Mike McDaniel working to change the way this offense breathes. Because it does not matter if we talk left guard, a possible pass rusher, or an explosive tight end if the franchise quarterback keeps getting put in ridiculous hero ball situations every week. Herbert took 54 sacks in the 2025 regular season. 54. Then in the wildcard game against the Patriots, 6 more sacks and a 16-3 loss that tasted like wasted opportunity. That cannot be treated like bad luck. That was an alarm screaming. McDaniel taking over the offense brings a direct answer. Faster throws, cleaner rhythm, earlier reads, fewer plays dying in the quarterback's hands. Herbert studied concepts from the Dolphins offense to understand that quick game mechanism, that timing, that way of stealing yards before the defense can turn pressure into punishment. I like that because it attacks the root of the problem. It is not just asking the line to block better. It is rebuilding the mental clock of the play. During OTAs, McDaniel also challenged Herbert to move away from the idea of holding the ball and trying to solve everything himself. And speaking as a grown fan, that has always been part of the fascination and the danger with Herbert. The arm is absurd. The courage is absurd. The ability to turn a broken play into a missile is absurd. But in the AFC, if you live on that, eventually the edge gets home, the drive dies, and the season starts slipping away. McDaniel seems to be saying, you do not have to prove you are superhuman on every snap. You have to beat the defense before it gets there. The focus on getting the ball out in 2.4 seconds or less, in certain concepts, changes everything. Receivers getting the ball before they fully turn, routes built on time, defenses forced to react instead of attacking freely. That does not make Herbert smaller. It does the opposite. It puts his talent in surgical mode. The rocket is still there, only now it comes with a precision switch, and the footwork piece may be more technical, but it is not small. In the third phase of OTAs, Herbert worked with McDaniel even without throwing, just adjusting his base, getting rid of that parallel stance at the line, and matching his feet to what the play demands. That is a coach touching the foundation, not just the playbook. When the feet arrive on time, the ball comes out on time. When the ball comes out on time, the pass rush starts losing power. Herbert's words matter too. He called McDaniel a great teacher and a great coach, and said the more time they get, the better it will be for the offense. For a quarterback who has already played under several coordinators in Los Angeles, that early respect is not decoration. It is a sign that the message is landing. And if that connection really clicks, the rest of the AFC has a problem. Because Herbert's ceiling was never the issue. The issue was creating an environment that stops demanding miracles and starts producing advantages. McDaniel does not need to turn Herbert into a different quarterback. He needs to pull the best out of him without letting him get beat up into December. If that works, the Chargers do not just get a faster offense, they get a more ruthless identity. Less waiting, less hesitation, more blade into the defense before it can even get its hands up. In the end, every piece points to the same demand. The Chargers have to act like a team that understands the size of its own opportunity. If Awosika wants to rip that job away, let him rip it away. If Highsmith becomes a real door on the market, Los Angeles needs to kick the conversation open. If Gadsden is ready to rise, the offense has to stop hiding good weapons. And if McDaniel is teaching Herbert to play faster, that growth has to show up on the scoreboard, not just in June. This fan base has seen too much talent turn into almost. Now it has to turn into wins. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and come back for the next video, because the pressure on the Chargers does not drop here.